pro sab members.
That's when there's more than one applicant for a seat.
Yes, that's, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, it seems
So
like
if you only had one person
We s-
apply,
yeah,
what
we-
has,
I
sorry,
don't know. We still sent a I mean, the last week, because we had we had,
Yeah.
I think,
So
3
you
openings
had-
this summer.
Yeah, and the last
And
one
then, so
you had was
we
two.
didn't we actually had nobody. And so we reopened it for applications,
and then you had two.
but then we had 3 empty seats. We had 2 empty seats and an alternate. Anyway, it
The
seemed,
number of your applications surpassed the number of vacancies, and that's why you reviewed. You received quite a few applications this
we
last
only
time
got-
for pro sub. You had more applications than you had seats open, and that's why you reviewed the applications. If you had not received, if you had
So-
2 open seats and you received 2 or 1, they would have been appointed on consent.
I thought we had 3 openings and 3 applications. But anyway, consistency, I guess, is all I'm saying.
You can pull up your aim
Yeah.
if you'd like.
No,
Is this what we're gonna do?
it's all good.
Yeah, so
Anyway, yeah,
frankly,
yeah, exactly.
that needs to
that's
be
as
done,
soon as
but I
it's
think what needs to do is we need to just go to the process of, I mean, because we don't have to appoint and we can choose to appoint, but like, this is where we are, we moved you to an action item, so I think I'd like that,
So-
if Ron, if you want to come up and talk about why you want to be on the board, that
have-
seems like a good place to start, and then we can ask you questions.
I do have just one actually clarifying question. So the introduction says Ron was on the board from 2020 to 2024, but Ron's application says he was on the board from 2005.
Yeah, he was
I
on
just
the
want to
board
make
in
sure
the past.
I understand what the history is.
That's
If
true.
somebody can clarify.
I, from what is on the record, Ron Mitchell served from 2020 to 2024, which is when his term was up, and that's what's listed in the AIM. And then at that time, he did submit an application again, and it was recommended from the DDA to the BOT, and the BOT decided to go a different direction at that time. And so now that's why I'm pointing out that they can only have 2 terms. So he served 1 term, and he is eligible for another 4-year term. Is that helpful? If I just made it more confusing or not?
Yeah, he had served, I think a long time ago you had served, Ron, I think I remember that, but a reasonable time has passed since then. We kind of went through this earlier on whole trustee terms. And, you know, a certain amount of time could pass, then you can run again. And in this case, yeah, he's eligible to run for a 4-year term.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's so we're saying even though he was on the board in 2005, we're not kind of okay. Perfect.
Yeah, because that's just a lot, you know,
That's all I-
2009 through
yeah.
2020.
That's all I needed.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, Ron, sorry. Thank you.
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to talk to you. As you can see, I had to walk back to stand under the amplifier so that I could hear. So I'm quite hard of hearing. I hope you'll bear with me with that handicap. And I might have to ask John to tell me what you said because I can't hear it from the speakers. So for that, I wanted to make you aware of that. I've been around Netherlands since 1957. I came here in college, fell in love with the town. I ended up doing a study about the town in a class, a research project, and ended up moving here. It was 1957. And from that time, I've had a lot of experience. I love the town. And I probably would like to give you one of my hearing aids just fell off. So, a little bit of my history. And in terms of the things that I feel I've done to help the town, I would like to continue to help the town. And when I came here, the very first thing that I did was to bring a house up here and put it on a couple lots or one lot that had been given to me by a woman who really liked the idea of youth hostels. And she gave me a lot, and another person gave me the house. And at the time, there were a lot of people bringing houses up and parking them in Old Town. And one of the reasons we have such an eclectic mix of houses in town is because the University of Colorado, as it expanded in the 60s and the 70s, gave away these houses. All you had to do was move them. Well, I had the most unique experience of all because I measured the house I was going to move 3 times, and I measured the east end of the tunnel 3 times. But what I didn't realize that it wasn't a tunnel; it's a funnel, and I got my house stuck in the funnel. And interesting thing was that I blocked up traffic all the way to Netherland. People irate, but when I got it here, there was a great outpouring of help. People came and helped me establish it as a youth hostel. Roofers roofed it, plumbers plumbed it, painters painted it, people furnished it. And I was really grateful because I was very young and pretty stupid too at that point because I didn't measure the west end of the tunnel. So I turned it into a youth hostel, and the town across the street had an old building that they'd sort of made into a library. And so they didn't have the budget to run it. So for 4 years, I took care of that building at my cost, except for the utilities. The town paid the utilities, and it was the town library. And I was the de facto sort of town librarian. But it was you bring a book and leave a book. And I went around to junk stores and I bought books, and it kind of became a hangout for some of the teenagers in town. And but after 4 years, the town got in financial trouble and they had to sell it. So that was the end of the town library and my career as a librarian. But I stayed around and I did other things for the town. I did get involved in setting up the DDA, as you mentioned. In 2005, I donated about $10,000 because people came to the town and we had to have a study done. It was done by an independent group, and they charged the town, uh, or they charged $25,000 for that study. And so the merchants donated that, and the town also donated about $5,000 to setting up the DDA. And so, of course, I became very interested and wanted to help with the DDA. And so I was elected to the board and was on and off the board. I had a job in Washington, D.C. for a good number of years, so I had to go there and live there. And then I did traveling for my employer there. But I've always kept my home in Netherlands. Over the years, there have been crises and times when I've kind of tried to jump in, and sometimes in a small way and sometimes in a big way. But at one point, uh, we were meeting in the small room that you just met in, and there was one electrical outlet, and everybody was tripping over everybody else's electric cord. So town didn't have the money to put in more plugs, so I paid for all the plugs around the little conference room down there. I haven't said much about this because I didn't need to. I just felt that the town needed help, and I should do that. I had the wherewithal, and a lot of people have less resources than I do, but they donate their time, and that's probably just as valuable. And their skills and their input, and I think that's very important. And I think when they do that, they do it with the greatest of sincerity, and so do I. One of the things that, like with the library, I'm interested in youth. Our future in the world depends on how we raise our youth and how we teach them. So I've donated to the skating rink quite a bit. And most of the tough sheds up there I donated. I've donated over 30 pairs of ice skates. Uh, and I think these are things where there are needs sometimes that can be met easily, and just find them and do it. Uh, there's a lot of other things too. When I was on the DDA, law, or maybe I wasn't, I can't really remember, so bear with me. But we had right during Frozen Dead Guy days, the roundabout exploded. The water main broke. It was a nightmare. And of course, the town ended up having to pay for it, and it was a huge traffic jam. And one of the things I really like, as you're probably aware, is dahlias. I grow dahlias and put them around town. And I thought, and one of the projects at the time portion still is the flowers for the DDA. So it was a big ass hurry. The town was tight for budget money, and I said, "Look, if we put flowers here, why don't we? You got the water line exposed. Why don't we put a spigot there so that we can water flowers? Because dragging a cart across the street and the traffic, the busiest intersection in town, doesn't cut it." And the public works director said, "Well, we can't do it. We got it done. We don't have the money." He said, "How about if I buy the spigot, will you put it in?" So he said, "Okay, I'll do it." But eventually the DDA paid for the spigot, but it was a decision that had to be done then and now. Had to make it in 15 seconds. It was either yes or no. So I went down to the plumbing wholesaler and bought the spigot, brought it up, and actually bought two because I didn't know which one they needed. And I got a refund on the second one. So I bring these things in this history to you to explain that I am interested in seeing Netherlands' future be bright. And I want to be a part of it. And I think I have skills and abilities that you can use if you want to. If you don't want to, I don't resent it. There's lots of people who, uh, say nasty things about me, but I don't think they know me. I don't think they know much about what I've told you just now. And certainly on my part, if you reject me, I don't know as you can, but if you vote not to take me, I will not go on the board. If that's, and I don't know where the law stands in that regard, but I want to help. I have the time, and I still, I believe, have an ability to think. I can't hear very well, but I think I still can think. And I'd like to use that skill to help. So, any questions?
Questions for Ron?
Ask John to be my.
What's your number one goal for the DDA the next 4 years?
Well, the DDA needs to follow its mandate. Its mandate is do improvements within a geographical area that's been defined. And also, the DDA has got to do it by teamwork. DDA can't. They've got a team with the town. They've got a team with other committees. So I'm a real advocate of teamwork. There's things I personally would like to see. I don't know whether they're the goals or not, but we are going to experience a real decline in our income because of the fire. Something's got to make that up in the interim. We've got to do something to. I have some ideas that I'd like to present. I think would help in that interim or maybe in long term, but there is a statute that allows for what's called an entertainment district or common consumption district, which would allow for events to be well controlled, but also allow people to have liquor within a larger area. And that statute says that you have to have 22,000 square feet and at least 5 restaurants that will cooperate, excuse me, and run this type of event or district. That could be done here. And I've talked to John about it before. I think if you did that and in an interim, it would work. I think there's things in the downtown area that are pretty simple that could be an asset and things that have been looked at. I'll give you an example. Years ago, there was a big debate and lots of resistance about making First Street one way. But the fact of the matter was that First Street going up in the wintertime is ice. And it was a dangerous situation. So my proposition was let's try it and see what works just from June to October. So we tried it and it seemed to go okay. And we tried it for 7 years and they said, hey, we don't have an ordinance that should do this. So after the trial of 7 years, the town passed an ordinance that we have one-way street and it works well. There's one thing about it that doesn't work well at all. We have a lot of trucks that park there and it's a small street. And in my opinion, I've done a lot of study about this, and some of you don't know this, but I lost a good friend who was run over by a car backing out of a parking spot. I personally feel, and I'd like to sell this, but if I can't, and a lot of things I've tried to sell and couldn't, if we just turned the cars 90 degrees and backed them in and had them facing downhill, then cars would be able to, and we have every day cars that go the wrong way anyway up First Street. But if all the cars were facing 90 degrees from where they are and backed in, and there's lots of advantages, there's lots of studies, and I had to do a lot of sales on the back end parking at the shopping center, but the DDA did it, and we did it as a team, and we got it done, and it was one of the major projects, and I was for it, and everybody else was too, and it was one of the things I think we could carry further. And some countries now have realized, with all the studies that have been done, that back end parking is safer than head end parking. So I'd like to see, you're asking what goals I have. I'd like to see us try that. Don't force it down anybody's throat. Just say, hey, look, let's try it. Let's see if it works. That's, again, and this is a teamwork between the DDA and the town. Who's going to pay for this? I think the DDA should pay for it. I think it's not my decision. It's a team decision. We have another problem.
We only have 5 minutes
I'm sorry.
left. I'll just say we only have 5 minutes, so
Okay,
just
yeah.
like giving you a time,
Okay.
that's all.
All right.
So we
No,
can
thanks,
vote.
Nick.
We
Thanks,
might have to
Tanya.
extend again.
2
I
more
don't know if
minutes.
it'll pass.
Or maybe you could extend for 10 more minutes.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
You would. I'd like to see all the motorcycles park in one spot, have a designated motorcycle spot. I would be willing to give up some of the pay parking for free motorcycle parking on Second Street because they create such a mess in town, but they're such good customers. We need to accommodate them in such a way. We've never had much of a problem in the last 5 years with a motorcycle gang or something. Mostly people owe these expensive $60,000 machines and they're not young. Okay, I'm done.
Thanks. Any other questions for Ron?
I just wanted to point out that some of the things that Ron was able to accomplish with Andrew Duar was the Big Springs revamp of Big Springs Drive, where it was, I don't know if anyone remembers how bad it was, but they created a lot of new parking and they were able to get all that done in a pretty short amount of time, like a year and a half. You know, compare that to some of the other NDDA projects that are still not complete. And hold on, Leo, I'm on the meeting. I know, but we're in the same room. Okay, sorry. I just want to say that Ron is a person who understands the system and also can accomplish things. Is able to get the flagging during the busy times of year. I think that's just a rarity, you know. I don't, you know, there's not a popularity contest. It's just more like, can we get things done? And right now, a board of 7 isn't really going to get a whole lot done. That's just my opinion. Well, yeah.
Thanks, Tanya.
I have a question.
Yep.
You know,
Go ahead,
because we
Chris.
did just have the DDA work session where the DDA, you know, is looking at what they want to accomplish in the coming year and has come up with some specific goals and ideas that they want to bring forward to the work session with the BOT in January. And the one topic that had pretty much universal buy-in from the members of the DDA was sidewalks on First Street. And I know Ron has fought against sidewalks on First Street in the past. So I'm curious, are you coming to would you be coming to the DDA board with an open mind and a willingness to work with the current members of the DDA, which hands down is the most best functioning DDA I have seen in many, many years that we've worked with the DDA. It's come together really well and it's got good momentum. So definitely don't want to interrupt that. I'm curious how you would you be willing to work on projects like sidewalks on First Street, which we've said has been needed for a decade now and been blocked?
Sure, I'd have a very open mind about it, and I would actually, in that case, because where you want to put sidewalks is right in front of my properties. And if the board wants, the DDA and the board want to put sidewalks there with the prospect of redevelopment sometime in the future, realizing and understanding that it's all going to get torn up at some future time, and who knows, that could be 10 years. So I would not vote for it, but I would not support it. But I mean, I would not vote one way or the other. And if I were voting, I wouldn't vote for it because I think it would be a waste of your money. And that's what I've always said. But I would, to answer your question, I would decline or recuse myself just because it's such a hot button question. My advice to the DDA, and I would maybe be in the minority. And if I was in the minority, we are in a democracy and the majority rules. And that's what teamwork is. And that's how we function.
Excuse me, maybe you could try it out for 7 years?
It's been a 30-year pilot already.
So we're coming up on 10:30. Motion, does someone care to make a motion to extend? Because we are in the middle of this. Do we have a discussion item? Well,
This whole meeting, I move to extend another 10 minutes. Can we get it? No,
That-
15?
we won't.
To get to this. Do you need? 25 minutes? Can I motion to extend in 25 minutes?
Second? Well, actually, let's hold the minutes in case you're. Okay. Second? I'll do second. Yeah, sure. Yes.
Cass, this is only for you. Yes.
That's why I'm voting for it.
Trustee Corvalon, sorry, my mic wasn't on.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yeah,
We-
I'm so
we-
sorry.
We have a motion for extending till 10:55
Yeah, 10:55. Why so much longer?
because Cass also has something to present.
Oh, I don't think I can stay that long. I have
Is it a
situation
no?
going on. Yeah,
Is it a yes or no?
not to 10:55.
No. Trustee Larson,
No.
trustee Maris,
Yes.
trustee Miller,
Yes.
trustee Jocelyn.
Yes.
Motion's approved.
Thank you. I actually have a question for Ron, but I'll go ahead with public comment first since he's gone at the moment. So public comment, anyone in the room, public comment on this appointment? If not, folks online, any public comment on this NDDA appointment, Ron Mitchell? Yeah. Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the board. So, I would love it if he was here right now, but I go ahead. You first, actually, because I want to hear. I would love
Does
to.
anyone, Chris, maybe in particular, know why we had 3 resignations this summer? Like what, did
Well,
something
so
happen?
so I was curious. I actually checked the DDA webpage, and it's only saying we have 2 vacancies.
Yeah, no, it should. It still has Kyle on there. So
Yeah.
there's actually
Oh,
8 members, and there's 5 sitting now, and
okay,
there's
it's not a
3
7-member.
seats. Kyle should be off there. It actually has Tanya as a. That's the old website. It's got
It's still
Tanya
an
as a
old one.
liaison still.
Hmm.
But
Are you guys looking on the new website?
I was
On the
gonna say, I
new
thought it was
no,
the
I
website,
old
it's
want
all
the old one.
listed.
Yeah.
Guilty. Sorry.
Okay.
It wasn't Everett who we just appointed, well, not just, but whenever our most recent appointment.
Your most recent appointment was Danielle Kraus, who was only sat for a couple weeks before she resigned again.
But you're correct. Before that was Everett, which is what the board chose over Ron in the
Right.
last one.
Well,
Right.
no, because we also have Dwight and John.
But
Oh,
Dwight,
right, but Dwight, that was.
Dwight
Dwight
was on an
and
appointment.
Kyle.
Can I help?
And Kyle.
But yeah,
Everett
Dwight was on
resigned.
the just consent agenda.
What,
Can I help?
did something,
Kate can answer.
gave us some turnover?
Yeah, Kate.
So it was kind of just a perfect storm. So Danielle Kraus, she did come for appointment again, and then she had some personal circumstances. And that was the same with Everett. There were just some personal conflicts, and he wasn't able to make meetings. So it wasn't anything other than their personal conflict. And Kyle Busey, again, it was kind of the same thing, that there was just more on his plate than he could give time for, was what we were told. We are excited about the work session because we're hoping that with that alignment with the BOT, it will be easier to go out into the community and say, hey, this is what we're working on. Do you want to be a part of this? Can you bring your skills to this? Because we do have people that are interested, but they want to know what the next step is so that they know what they're going to contribute to. So I hope that makes sense. So it was just kind of a weird timing that all that happened. And then Steve Roundtree was on our board, and then he left in July as well. And then that was right when Trustee Larson was coming on. So it was just all some turnover, but they all have really united in the revised bylaws and the MOU and reviewing the sub-area plan to get ready for this work session to talk to the BOT about where you want the DDA, where you both see each other working together to implement infrastructure plans in 2026.
But
Did
okay,
that help?
Thanks, Kate.
yeah. But to my point, right now we have Andrew Dewart, John Thompson, Dwight DeBro, Steve Carew, Scott Papich.
Mhm.
2 vacancies. It's a 7-member board, right?
No.
It's an
Thank
8-member
you.
board.
8? It's an 8-member
It-
board
it
plus
is,
the
the liaisons
okay.
and tiebreaker.
There's just a missing vacancy position on the webpage then.
That's what
Is-
the issue
Yeah.
is,
Yes.
that has it. But there is 3 vacancies at this
There
time.
are 3. Okay.
More comments? So, my challenge is just that, there are 5 people on the board, true, but they have a good momentum. They've agreed to the MOU and the bylaws, and it seems like we're in a real positive momentum with the group. And, I've been in town government since, I think, September of 2018, first the BZA, then also the PC, and now the BOT. And so I've been paying attention for 7+ years, not 7.5, but, and I have seen that culture of the NDDA just went so south for so long, and definitely over in that 2020 to 2024 period, the culture grew quite toxic. And I know that it sucks he's not here, but I know that Ron was part of that dynamic, and he was. So and it's just been a polarizing situation, and I'm concerned when they're on an upswing with their culture that it's just. I know we have 3 seats available, but I don't believe Ron Mitchell to be someone who would bring, be a productive member of the group at this time. And that, you know, if he's on there, none of his tenants can even run for 4 years, correct? I think a
No.
landlord
Yes.
and a tenant cannot
Yes.
both be on the board,
That's
is that right?
correct. That's
Yeah.
correct.
So it locks out a lot of business owners. And so my concern is that it's, is that it just would really change the DDA in a bad way, and that's my concern.
So this conversation was started about process and whether or not we're following the same process of what has been established before. When I see that we divert or deter from process, I think of discrimination, quite honestly. Because if you're willing to go against process, be either for or against some other candidate, my HR flag is just going off like crazy right now. And I think it's inappropriate, quite honestly. This happened before when the NDDA even brought the recommendation of Ron to this board, and the board decided against it. And I was so confused. Like if we had done a recommendation, if the Board of Trustees in some world had done a recommendation, how upset we would have been that the governing body had gone against it. That dynamic, I would also add on, was multiple people, not just Ron. And so to pin it on someone as an individual is also not fair at all. People have to grow up and learn how to work with each other. Period. You keep talking and you keep trying to figure it out.
Thank you, Nicole.
But,
That's
but it is
exactly
the
what I
role of
wanted
this
to say.
board to, oh, sorry.
Just say,
Go ahead.
Tanya
Yeah,
started.
I wanted to say I was actually on that board during that time, and there was a lot of things accomplished during that time that Ron helped facilitate. And so I'm not really sure this toxicity, I think it was between him and one other person on the board, really. And
Yeah, I think
he
you're
was
right.
actually voted on that board by everybody but that person and maybe one other. And at that point, we had a quite large board. We had a full board, so maybe 7-2 or whatever. So it's not like he was unpopular at the board or he wouldn't have won. And it wasn't a close win either. So it was just, I feel like this is just your personal feelings. And I think we need to follow process. And I think what Nicole says is correct. I don't have this like overwhelming like friendship with him. I argue with him as well. And I think it's okay to have somebody on the board that you maybe disagree with. He has, again, a lot of information about NDDA that most people don't have. And at this point, I don't feel like we should be pro con. It's a process, and this wasn't done for other candidates. So I agree with Nicole about the HR thing. It's very odd to me. Twice now.
Well, speaking to process, the role of the Board of Trustees is to appoint members of the board. It is one of our responsibilities, our jobs. And sometimes that process is non-controversial, consent agenda. Sometimes it's an individual like Ron who has been very disruptive to the boards and the towns in the past. So it is not non-controversial. And so that is where the Board of Trustees steps in to say it's not a personal thing per se. This is someone who we don't think is working with the best interests of the town. And it is not a process. It's a matter of, we don't think he's, I'm sorry, I should not be saying we, I, in this case, don't think he is the right fit for the direction the board, the DDA is going, for the direction the town is going, and for the smooth functioning of the government of which we oversee.
So I'm going to go ahead and pull on my HR hat again. When I hear people say fit, they're usually looking for people like them, who think like them, who talk like them. And I oftentimes ask folks and businesses to think about who is being an addition or an add to whatever, whether it's a government entity, like in this scenario, or it's a company. Who's bringing something with, that is aligning to the goals of here, in this case, the NDDA, and who is bringing something extra.
And in this
Um,
case, we're looking at Ron Mitchell, who 5 years ago, when the DDA had the goal of sidewalks on First Street, mobilized and blocked the funding of the BOT project to put sidewalks on First Street because he was going to submit a redevelopment project in the coming year. That was 5 years ago. We still don't have ADA accessible
That's
sidewalks on
actually-
First Street because of the actions of the individual. That is what he brings to the DDA currently.
Pelletier did not get the grant.
Well, because the
I was
DDA
on this
blocked
board
it.
with you.
Yep, the DDA spoke up and blocked it. We were working with them as our funding partners.
And
And
that's,
so,
I was
yeah,
there
with-
then, and that is the route it went. It was an item at a DDA meeting, and it was voted down. Just to give that background for the SMS grant.
and it was voted down by all members of the NDDA.
It wasn't
Okay.
voted down by all members, but
was-
they did vote it down.
They
I
voted it
don't
down.
remember the vote right now. I can go back
Sure.
and look at that if people want me to find that. But yes, it was voted down, and it was, like Trustee Larson, it was at Ron's behest as a board member. And again, it brings up the teamwork. I think at that point in time that there was that hope that there was teamwork in the conversation about not going towards that grant or not supporting that because something eminently was coming.
So
And
the
them
point
all
being,
wanting to
it
work
was,
together.
so the point being is that it was a board decision not to move forward.
Yeah, it was a board decision.
Okay.
And it was at Ron's behest, but it was the board decision. And, yeah.
Okay. I think the other frustrating part is that we've spent so and so much time and haven't gotten to one of our staff members' discussion items. That's also extremely frustrating at this point in time.
I'm going to be really quick. I've gone back and forth on this decision quite a bit. The fact that tenants can't be on the DDA with a landlord, and Ron being the landlord of a significant chunk of the NDDA it's an issue for me. I don't like that at all. Blocks a lot of people out. I definitely don't always agree with Ron's approach to things. I don't always agree with his priorities. But I do remember that last time we were in this position, he had the unanimous support of the DDA.
Well,
As a
except for one.
recommendation.
Except for one.
It wasn't
Well,
unanimous, yeah.
You're right. Yeah,
It
yeah.
was two, it was two.
Yeah, no.
It was
thanks
7-2.
Thanks for clarifying. It was a majority support. And I get, I mean, it's polarizing, but at this point, both, I don't want to spend a whole bunch more time on it, but also, I think Ron does bring a lot of values. And it's not clear cut. It's not easy. It's not like 100% benefit, but at this point, I would support approving him.
And Trustee Miller, I always think too, like in the interim where the NDDA has had turnover and open seats, none of his tenants have come before and applied.
It's true, and that's a good point.
No, he's down the hall. So if you guys do want to bring him back in, I can go grab him.
Okay. But that's just, yeah, a point is that if they wanted to come in and run for the NDDA, then they would have.
That's a good.
Is that also something that's controlled by like state statute, or is that something that we could adjust in our code or something?
That's statute.
Okay.
And it's in the revised bylaws and the MOU about how we all work together too.
Okay.
But it can be.
Well, if it's
But I
state
guess
statute,
but it's actually not state statute, isn't it in bylaw? Our bylaws? that
It
we
is
wrote?
in the bylaws, but it is state statute that a property owner and a leasee cannot be on the board at the same time.
I see. Okay, thanks.
I guess I'll just jump in to say that I would also support appointing Ron. We have 3 vacancies. He has applied. He's interested in working with the town with doing his, being a volunteer and putting in the time. I think with our new bylaws and our MOU in place, hopefully we have a structure that can prevent any toxic environment or relationships from growing. I think that's why we kind of started developing these relationships and working towards a work session. So hopefully we as a board have kind of helped create an environment where that kind of toxic energy can stay away.
Thank you.
And I'd say that's also a responsibility of the NDDA board. I'm sorry, but as each of us are accountable for how we show up and how we hold each other accountable, I would say that's also a responsibility of the NDDA board.
Good points, both of you. Thank
We
you.
did in the bylaws, just a note, as you said, there is a removal process in the bylaws. So the Board of Trustees does hold that power to add and remove members based on action. And I think one of the things that we know for the DDA that's coming up, we have worked really hard on those bylaws and MOU. Kate and I had a meeting today with Cheney Bostic, who is the one who designed the sub-area plan, which is the plan and development for the DDA, to kind of think about how we talk about that with the BOT when the work session comes. And I think we have some exciting ideas at the staff level that we'd like to bring to you for work next year. And I will tell you, sidewalks on First Street needs to be a priority for the DDA. And I think they agree with that in general. So I think really the work is like, how do we figure out, how do we start moving these projects forward in the, just thinking about this wicked problem lens of like, there's multiple priorities here. But I do think that that's something that one of the things we talked about, and I guess Kate, as long as you're comfortable, we talked about parking and sidewalks. Those are the kind of the big things that I think the DDA focused on in their last meeting.
I make a motion to appoint Ron Mitchell to the NDDA with the term ending June 2029.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, Macy?
Mayor Billy,
No.
Trustee Maris,
Yes.
Trustee Larson,
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Sterling,
Yes.
Trustee Corvalon,
Yes.
Trustee Miller,
Yes.
and Trustee Jocelyn. Motion's approved.
Thanks, everyone. Motion passes.
Thank you all.
I appreciate that those bylaws and MOU is in place. With that, Cass,
Okay, so
thank you for your patience.
yeah, so the extended producer responsibility policy is a statewide policy that's requiring producers of packaging and paper products to fund the end of life management for the materials. So basically, any brands, retailers who produce packages are part of a producer responsibility organization. They pay annual dues to this organization, which for the state of Colorado is the Circular Action Alliance. So I'll reference that, CAA. The CAA then takes those dues and allocates it to different services, including recycling services, infrastructure funding, and then education and outreach. And there are different entities that kind of get that funding reimbursement and then are able to use that funding to essentially improve recycling services. The idea, the main idea behind this is that there will be completely free recycling pickup, just like trash is and as convenient as trash pickup is by 2030. And they want to improve the recycling rates for Colorado. Local governments are eligible for education and outreach reimbursement. So that's specifically what this AIM is talking about. There is an interest form due January 16th, and that is non-binding. And essentially, we just need to submit the interest form. All it's asked for is contact information. So I would put my contact information down since would be managing this project right now. And in preparation for that, I've talked with Boulder County about potentially having them provide the education and outreach services. So this isn't something that I'm asking you to make a decision on tonight, but this aim includes the different options that we have moving forward. So the first option would be to work with Boulder County. They are providing services for the unincorporated areas already, so they're already doing this work. They are also partnering with 2 or 3 other municipalities, potentially more, to disperse these materials, do announcements, hold public meetings, in order to basically educate the public on EPR and the services that are provided to them through this funding. So the good things about that is that those materials are already created, and there's consistency between Netherland and the county if we were to work with them and they were to help us distribute that those educational materials. But we would have likely less control over the materials themselves, and then the timing of all of the outreach. The coordination would also require staff time, so I would still have to do some things to make sure that we are educating Netherland residents.
Hello again. Nicole just told me that.
We moved on to the next. Congratulations, Ron. You were approved. You were appointed. No, no worries. No worries.
The second option would be town does their own education and outreach. So that would likely fall under my role, and I would be doing all of the outreach content. The question that is still pending for CAA is if they would pay for current staff time. So I don't know that yet. I have asked, and I think they're still trying to figure that out. There's a lot of things that haven't been figured out. But it would require a lot more staff time, but we would have more control over the information going out. And then the third option is always do not participate. So we just don't submit the interest form. We delay this, and there's no commitment on our part, but we also would not get the reimbursement, and we would be delayed in that reimbursement in the future. So for next steps and kind of my staff recommendation, I would recommend submitting the interest form because it doesn't bind us to anything, and it also doesn't call for us even putting down that we're interested in working with Boulder County. But I also would recommend that we continue to talk with Boulder County about what this could look like. I did include some of the scope of services that they already told us they were thinking about doing. So yeah, my recommendation is just to continue working with Boulder County on next steps, and then I would bring this back to you to see if you wanted to move forward with an official intergovernmental agreement or MOU to make sure that the reimbursement is directed to the correct. No. Sorry. Right.
Next then. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I move to extend till 11 o'clock, 5 minutes.
Second.
So really,
Macy?
Cass's recommendation is that we submit interest because it doesn't cost the town anything.
She's got to get,
Oh, sorry.
Macy? Yes?
Mayor Pro Tem Sterling,
Yes.
Trustee Corvalon,
Yes.
Trustee Larson,
Yes.
Trustee Maris, Trustee
you all.
Miller,
Yes.
Trustee Jocelyn.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Clarifying questions for Cass? Public comment? There's no public comment in the room. Thanks. Folks online? Public comment? We'll bring it back. Any other questions for Cass or any closing comments?
Yes, is there opportunity to work with like EcoCycle instead of Boulder County on this, or no?
They would be working in conjunction. They would be working together.
Okay.
So we'd be working with both of them.
Do you need nods from us? Nod for the interest?
Yeah,
form?
basically just nods.
Yes.
I'm a nod.
Yep. For sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your time. With that, we'll move to other business.
One super fast power outage for tomorrow, not currently looking likely for Netherland unless conditions change. So we're going to continue monitoring, working with BCSO and Medfire, but right now it doesn't look like we're going to have an outage.
Oh. I think, yeah, it was on the forecast I saw earlier. Any other business?
Just, I was
oh,
reading
ta-
the
any-
frequently asked questions. It looks like we're gonna be able to get in this week as town to go through the rubble and start getting the items that belong to the police department.
That's correct. That was what the item on a consent was, is just to
Right.
give me permission
Yeah,
to
so that, does
possess.
that mean every business is now allowed to go in and gather whatever rubble they want? And
I'm sorry.
She's asking if other businesses are also going to be able to go into their,
Oh, yeah. I think that work is wrapping up. Ours was the most complicated thing. It's possible
Good.
they're all mostly done. We're working with CDPHE right now on permit issuance is really where we're at.
and you had the conversation with the state, that they're not trying to put any roadblocks up, or are they gonna help?
We are
in dialogue.
in dialogue, and I will
Active.
update the community as soon as I possibly can, which hopefully will be in the next very short period of time. I'm sorry,
Okay,
that's a
thank you.
terrible answer. I know it is,
That
but
that is as specific as he can get right now.
I know,
You're
just
definitely-
the public is very upset.
About the FAQs, did they go out?
the new FAQ is out, and Britt and I also met with Tebow Properties and CDPHE today. It is typical in investigations like this that they sometimes take even up to 180 days or more once you go through the whole process. We're sitting right around 60 days, and I understand. I think everybody's working towards the same goal of getting the building down, but there are federal and state regulations that we're navigating. Joe Nagus is helping us with that process. Town staff has been working. Britt and I have been spending a lot of time on this project, and we've been getting support. It's just a very complicated issue. So the goal here is I want to make sure everybody has updates, and I want to share what I can. I just am not able to share everything at this moment, but I'm very excited to make sure that everyone knows exactly when we move forward and how that will look.
Thanks.
Great.
We probably have to wrap it up. Thank you though, John. Thanks for answering that.
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
Yes.
Trustee Miller,
Yes.
Trustee Corvalon,
yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sterling,
Yes.
Trustee Maris,
Yes.
Trustee Larson,
Yes.
and Trustee Jocelyn.
Yes.
Thank you. The meeting is adjourned at 11:01 p.m.
Thank you. Appreciate it.